Welcome back to Green Bionomy. In this video, I'm going to take this parsley seed and turn it into that. And I will walk you through the entire process in which I documented all the mistakes, the learnings, and the insights that I had. So that will be a very specific step-by-step guide on how to grow parsley using the Hydroponic Kratky method. So by the end of the video, if I've done my job correctly, you'll be able to take a parsley seed and grow it all the way to harvest using this hydroponic method. So let's give it a try. The first step is germinating the seed. To do this, I used cotton wool, some water, 2-inch net cups, a plastic box, and some seed. You can find the seed either on Amazon or in a garden store. Also, sometimes in supermarkets, they sell some herbs or leafy green seeds. The 2-inch net cups are also available on Amazon or in hydroponic store. And if you're in a location where you don't have access to these stores or to Amazon, you can take a plastic cup and then make holes in it. That will do the same job. You just need to pay attention to how large it is and how deep it is. So these are the seeds that I used for the project. There's nothing special about them, it's just simple seeds from the store. The first thing to do to germinate the seeds is take your net cup, then you can put the cotton wool inside the net cup. After this, you soak the cotton with water, so you just pour water on the cotton which is inside the net cup, and then you take the net cup with the cotton in it and you place it inside the food tray and add a little bit of water at the bottom of the tray to keep the cotton moist during the germination period. As I said before, if you don't have access to traditional net cups, you can take a plastic cup and make holes in it. To make the hole, you can use a soldering iron pen, or you can take a nail and hit it up on the fire and then poke the hole inside the plastic. Once you're done, it should look something like that. So to repeat, you have the 2-inch net cup. Inside the 2-inch net cup, you have soaked cotton wool with the seeds on top of the cotton. And these net cups are on a film of water which sits at the bottom of the tray, and it is covered by the transparent part of the food tray. The reason why you cover the net cups is to trap humidity inside, because it is important for the germination process. So the factors that will affect germination are the temperature, the light levels, as well as the humidity. You don't need to pay too much attention to that, but I'm saying this because this particular seed was germinated inside an apartment in Hamburg, and it was around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius in average. So if you're in a hotter climate where you have maybe 27-30 degrees inside, the seed will still germinate, but it will be slower. So with this being said, my seeds took 13 days to germinate. Here you have the documentation: day 2, day 3, day 4, day 7, day 9, day 10, day 11, and day 13. So 13 days to germinate, and the only thing I did is make sure that there's still some water at the bottom of the food tray so that the cotton do not dry out. As soon as the seed germinated, move the seedling in a sunny location inside your apartment or under artificial lights or grow lights. This is because if the seedling do not get adequate light for photosynthesis, it will start to become elongated or very stretchy, because it will be looking for the light, and this will have an impact in how the plant will look once it reached adulthood. So this is a very, very important step and a common mistake that I've done multiple times. It's more important with herbs and leafy greens than with fruiting plants, but as soon as the cotyledons are out, so these small leaves that you see, these are the first leaves that come out of the seed before the true leaves arrive. So at this point, the plant needs light. So in my case, I moved the seedling under artificial lights, and the ones that I used are compact fluorescent lights, and I think I used two of them. Each of them was 1450 lumen, and the color temperature was 6500 Kelvin. The lights were placed at a hanging distance of around 4 to 5 centimeters. Now, concerning the artificial lights, I have made videos on what are the most common types of light in hydroponics, and also how you can evaluate them. So to understand this lumen and Kelvin business. So to give it a very short summary, Kelvin is simply the color of the light, and what matters for the seedlings is to have blue light because it's what the plant used for vegetative growth. So this is between 5,000 and 10,000 Kelvin, and that's why 6,500 Kelvin is the color that you can use for seedlings. And that's usually what you will see or hear when people talk about grow lights and plants for vegetative growth, not for fruiting or flowering, which requires red light. Now the lumen is simply how much light does the bulb emit. So it's important because the plant needs a certain amount of light to be able to grow, and you can tell this by using the lumen. It's not perfect, but it does the job. And now the hanging distance is important because if you place the light too high, you won't receive enough light even if you have the adequate lumens level. Now, to be able to place a bulb closer to your seedling, you need something that does not produce too much heat. And that's why the compact fluorescent lights worked for me, because they are not too hot and I can place them quite close to the seedling. So that's a lot of information. If you have sunlight inside your apartment, it's best to just place the seedlings there. Otherwise, the artificial lights also work very well. And once you understand the basics, it will be much, much simpler. And I kept the light on for around 15 hours per day. So that was enough to get the results that you see. And I wasn't very specific with it. I will just turn the light on when I will wake up and turn the light off when I will go to bed. On day 18, I saw that the roots of the seedling were out of the net cup. That means I could see them poking out at the bottom of the 2-inch net cup. That meant now I can move them to the final system in which the plant will grow to maturity, and this is a Kratky system. As I just mentioned, what I looked at to decide to move the seedling to the final system are the roots at the bottom, and another element you can look at is the apparition of the true leaves. That means the leaves that the plant will have during the rest of its life cycle. I moved them before they appeared and it was fine, but usually you will look at the true leaves and at the length of the roots of the seedlings before deciding to move them outside of your nursery where you're germinating your seeds inside the final system. So if you don't know what a Kratky system is, again, I have a detailed video on how it works, but I'm just gonna quickly explain how the system works. So basically, you will have a reservoir that is filled with water in which there are nutrients. Now, at the top of the reservoir, you will have a hole in the lid, and it's in this hole that you will place the cup that holds your seedling or your plant. Now, the plant will be just above the nutrient solution or the water which is inside your reservoir. The roots of the plant will be touching the water and they will soak in the minerals from the nutrient solution as well as the water, and this will make the plant grow. Now, the roots of the plant also need oxygen. In the Kratky system, you don't have much oxygen in the water, but the plant is able to breathe through the roots because you leave an air pocket between the nutrient solution and the top of the net cup. So at the beginning, the water level touches the net cup, but as the plant will grow and the water will be consumed, the air pocket will increase and the plant will put out air roots inside this air pocket, and it will provide oxygen to the plant. That means that in a Kratky, you can set up the system and then you can just leave it and the plant will grow and the system will evolve with the plant in a dynamic way, which means that you don't need to maintain it or top up. Now, that's the theory, but in practice it's different and you will see why. So if we're back to our parsley seedling, what I used is a yogurt jar. I didn't measure how much water it holds, but it wasn't that much, maybe a cup of water, so maybe 25 or 30 centiliter. Then I made a hole inside the lid of the yogurt jar to be able to place the 2-inch net cup in it. Once this was ready, I simply took the net cup and placed it on the lid. And that's it. It's not complicated. You can use anything you want that holds water. You just need to make a hole in the lid, or you can even take a cardboard or polystyrene sheet and just make a hole in it, place it on top of your reservoir, and it will hold your net cup with your seedling in it. Once this is set up, you can fill up the reservoir. So you can also fill it up before. So I'm going to start using tank instead of reservoir because I'm not sure if reservoir is an English word, but reservoir and tank are the same thing. So your water tank. Okay, I'm going to start using tank now. So you can fill up your tank before. I just did it after. The only thing that matters is that you fill it up all the way to the bottom of your net cup so that the roots of the plant can touch the water. Otherwise, it will dry out. And at the beginning, it's also good if it touches the substrate, in this case, the cotton wool, so that it doesn't dry out while the plant is still young. So the water that you see me putting inside the tank has minerals in them. These minerals are what the plant will use to grow. So I have a video that explains what are these minerals, so the plant nutrition, why they're important and what is their name, but you don't really need to understand all of that. You just need to understand that the plant needs mineral to grow. It's like you need nutrients to grow. So this is an important part of hydroponics. There are a lot of videos on YouTube, and I think one channel that I really like is Tiki-O. It's very clear, concise, you can learn a lot from that. There's also Hocho that is very nice. The nutrients that I used is Master Blend, so that's a classic in US and Europe. I just ordered it on Amazon, and the recipe that I used for 10 liter, so 10 liter of tap water. I didn't do anything to my water, and it was 5.3 gram of Master Blend and 2.65 gram of magnesium sulfate and 5.3 gram of calcium nitrate, so for 10 liter. So when you order the Master Blend nutrients, it's dry minerals, so you need to put them in water, and it comes in 3 bags. Now you will put the nutrients in the water in the order that I gave you. So first the Master Blend, then the magnesium sulfate, and then the calcium nitrate. So after you put each of them, you will mix the water and wait for the minerals to dissolve before putting the next one. Otherwise, they might fall out of solution. That means they just simply won't dissolve in the water and the plants won't be able to use them up. So when mixing nutrient solution, some things that are good to know and good to practice, but if you're just starting out, you can ignore that at first, but it's just so that you know if the plant is not growing, so that you know why it's not growing. So the 2 important factors are the pH and the total dissolved solids. So the pH is the level of acidity of the water, and basically it needs to be between 5.5 and 6.5. If it's not in this range, the plant won't be able to consume the nutrients. So if you want more details, I have a video on what is pH, why it is important, and how it affects the plant. So it's more of a theory video so that you understand what is going on with the pH. And the channels that I mentioned before are also very good at explaining what is pH and how you can handle it. I've also done another video where I share my process on how I test the pH and how I adjust it. So that is just so that you know, if the plant is not growing and you did everything right, that might be the pH. And the other things, the total dissolved solids, is the concentration of minerals inside your water. So you don't want to give too little amount of minerals to the plant, and you don't want to give too much neither. But if you just respect the recipe that I gave you, you should be in the proper range for leafy greens and herbs. But the TDS is just something that you can look inside the water and basically see how much nutrients you have in there. But it's not necessary if you're just at the very basic level. So once I was done preparing the Kratky tank, so the yogurt jar with the hole in it, and I moved the seedling inside the tank, and then I filled up the tank with the nutrient solution, I cut out the extra seedlings. So that's something you usually do with leafy greens. With herbs, you don't need to. For example, for parsley, you can have up to 5-10 seeds inside the same net cup. But I wanted to have only one seedling because one of my goals was also to see how the parsley plant grew, because it was the first time I grew parsley using a Kratky system. So I wanted one seed and see how big it could get. Then I just placed it back in the nursery where I had my grow lights in the same setup that I explained to you before, because in these early stages I decided to keep it under artificial light, but you can also put it in a sunny location inside your apartment. So now it's day 44 and you can see that the plant grew significantly. It put out multiple stems with many leaves and it grew towards the light. So that's something you will see often with artificial lights. The plant will follow the light when it's concentrated in one location. So the roots also grew quite a lot. And this is also one of the things that I like with Kratky, is that from the day of the transplant in day 18, I didn't do anything to the plant. I just let it grow on its own. So I didn't need to water. I didn't need to top up the water. I didn't need to do anything. So that's what I really like. It's lazy gardening. A good way to see if the plant is healthy is looking at the roots. So that's why I'm doing here. And the roots are nice and white, and that means the plant is healthy. If it was brownish and a bit dry and a bit slimy, that would be a sign of disease, like having bacterial slime or root rot or the roots drying out. So the plant is growing quite nicely, so it's working well in this glass jar. One of the leaves is also burned, and this is because the plant grew towards the compact fluorescent light, and the light doesn't emit that much heat, but it's because the plant grew so much that it was touching the bulb, and that's what burned the leaf. So that's something you need to be a bit careful with, and you might need to adjust the hanging distance as the plant is growing. So I'm taking a simple piece of cloth and I'm wrapping it around the glass jar to block out the sunlight, because I'm going to move the plant to a sunny location in the apartment, and I'm going to stop using the artificial lights. So the reason why I block the sunlight is because sunlight promotes algae growth, and algae are not bad for the plants, but they will make the pH fluctuate and increase your chances of going outside of this 5.5 to 6.5 range. And I'm moving the plant out of the artificial lights because I want to free up space in the nursery to grow more seedlings, because the plant is taking a lot of space and a lot of light from my compact fluorescent lights, and that's the only artificial lights that I have at the moment. So you don't need to overthink the location for sunlight. Any place where you have sunlight during the day that comes directly through the window will do. For example, this area where I put the plant had the lights only in the afternoon, and it's Hamburg, so it was summer, but it's still Hamburg, and there's a lot of cloudy days and rainy days, and the plant still grew. So it's not the optimum amounts of light, but any places in your apartment that receive some sunlight during the day should do the job. So now it's day 51. The plant is growing faster and faster. You can see a new stem coming out and they keep on coming out. And you can also see that the leaves of the plant are kind of stuck to the window. It's really going for the lights. That's really fun to see the plant grow, and it's super satisfying. So at the beginning of the video, I was telling you how giving enough light to seedlings was one of the common mistakes in hydroponic, and I think also in gardening. When the seed germinates, if you don't place it in a sunny location, then you have a very stretchy plant. So that's a common mistake. Now, another common mistake, and this one is a common mistake for Kratky system, is when you use a tank. I said I was going to use tank instead of reservoir. When you use a tank that is too small, the plant at some point will finish the water and you will need to add water. So normally it should not happen in Kratky, because Kratky is a system where you want to set up the plant and then you don't have to touch it all the way to harvest. But this can happen only if you use a tank that has enough water. For example, if I'm growing lettuce, I need to use a tank that has 3 to 4 liters of water, because lettuce will take around 30 to 40 days to grow, and by the time the water is finished in the tank, the lettuce is already ready to harvest, and that's why you don't need to do any maintenance in Kratky. But you can still do Kratky with a tank that is too small, but you will need to top up the water regularly. So now you can see the parsley used up the water in the glass jar. So the roots grew, the plant grew, so it's using water faster and it's using minerals faster. So I need to top up the water. And topping up the water in Kratky it's not complicated, but you need to know some simple things. So the first thing when you top up is use fresh water, because the plant will consume the water faster than it will consume the minerals. So if you top up with nutrient solution all the time, you might end up having a too high concentration of minerals. And this you can know by checking the total dissolved solids that I was telling you about before. So I have a video on how I do that. Now the other thing is, when you top up in Kratky, you want to leave an air pocket between the water level and the net cup, because just like I was telling you at the beginning, the plant needs oxygen through the roots, and it gets it from the air pocket inside the tank. So if you top up all the way to the lid, you will drown the plant, because the roots that are taking the oxygen, so-called air roots, will drown because they're not able to take in water anymore. So you need to top up just below the net cup. It's best to not even touch the net cup anymore and to leave a gap, and when you top up to this gap. But to be honest, the simplest way to do a Kratky is simply get a big tank from the beginning, and you won't have to top up anytime. So here you can see I went and I checked the pH and the total dissolved solids of some nutrient solutions that I had already prepared for other plants. And these plants were tomatoes, so fruiting plants. So the concentration of minerals is a bit higher, and the pH was also a bit higher, but I reduced it to the 5.5 to 6.5 range. And then I used this to top up the water. So that's a mistake. Okay, that's something you should not do. I did it and I learned from it, so that's great. But I've already done the mistake. You can go and do it for yourself if you want, but you can also skip that mistake. So basically what it did to the plant is that the ppm, so the total dissolved solids is measured in ppm, so parts per million. The ppm was too high for the parsley, and I started seeing some leaves burning a little bit. So they get a bit dry and a bit curly, and it just the amount of mineral in the water is too high. And that's the consequence of topping up with nutrient solution, especially with nutrient solution for tomatoes, not for herbs or leafy greens. So to top up, you just take a water bottle or a cup, and you just put your fresh water in. I use tap water, so again, simple tap water. And you just go and you add the water inside the tank. So I like to do it from the top above the cotton so that it gives some water to the cotton too, because I realize that the cotton tends to dry up later while as the plant goes into its life cycle. But you can also put up the lid and put the water from the bottom, but that's a bit trickier because there are the plant roots everywhere and you don't want to damage the plant roots while you're doing this. So just to show you, you can see the water level doesn't touch the net cup. So I topped it up, but I left a gap so that the plant can still breathe inside the tank. Day 58, I'm topping up again, this time with fresh water, because by that time I noticed that topping up with nutrient solution is not a good idea. And again, simple tap water and topping up from the top of the plant. Also, you can see that the water level is going down faster. So it's been only 7 days since the last top up, and it's simply because the plant is mature and it's consuming a lot of water every day. But temperature also affects how much water will the plant consume. On day 62, I started to harvest. I could have done it sooner, but I simply started later. So to harvest parsley, you just come and you cut out a stem, and you go and you eat the leaf. You can eat the stem also if you want. I do eat the stem. I like it. And you can basically keep on harvesting like that, and the plant will keep on putting out new stems as it grows and as it leaves. So parsley will live for 2 years. So you can do this type of harvesting for the first year, and in the second year it will start going into flower. So if you want to grow parsley and have the seeds for yourself, you can just let it go all the way into the second year. Obviously, you need to let the plant grow in between the harvest, and that's why it's good to have more than one parsley plant. So in this case, we're using a Kratky system, so it's only one plant, but I could have had up to 10 seeds inside the Kratky system. Obviously, it would have been not possible in the yogurt jar. I would have needed a bigger tank, maybe like 5 liter. And there's also other hydroponic systems more suited to large quantities. This Kratky is interesting because it's also a learning process, so you want to deal with only one plant and get used to the hydroponic management methods like testing pH, testing TDS and stuff like that. So on day 67, I had to prepare a new Kratky tank because I was moving away from Hamburg and I was going to France for a month and a half. So I needed something that will not require frequent top up so that the plant will just keep on growing while I'm not there. So I moved the system to basically become a proper Kratky system with a proper tank size. So I just took a plastic box, so this time it was 10 liter, and I made 4 2-inch holes in the lid. That was super hard. I had no idea what I was doing, but I managed to do it in the end. And then I filled up the tank with the 10 liter of tap water, and I put in the nutrient solution using the same recipe that I gave you before, so the leafy greens and herb recipe. So if I say it again, it's 10 liter tap water, then I take the master blend bag, I add 5.3 gram inside the tank, I mix, I wait for it to dissolve, then I add the magnesium sulfate, 2.65 gram, I mix, I wait for it to dissolve, then I add the calcium nitrate, 5.3 gram, again I mix and I wait for it to dissolve, and it's done. Then I just took the parsley plant from the yogurt jar, so very convenient because I can just take the plant with the lid, and I moved it into the new hole, and for the transplant, that was it, that was done. Super easy, super convenient. I think that's one of the advantage again of hydroponic. It would have been in soil, I would have to dig out. Well, in soil I wouldn't need a bigger tank. I'll just need someone to water the plant for me. But here the plant is watering itself, so that's pretty cool. So when I came back on day 18, the plant was huge. Yeah, it put out a lot of new shoots, and that's a very big parsley plant. But obviously it's day 118, so it's very mature plant. The water level also dropped significantly, so you can see the top line of water when I started the system in this tank was at 7 liter, and now it's not half that, but you can see that the plant used up the water. But it's a month and a half, maybe almost even 2 months that it stayed in there. And you can also see that algae grew inside the tank. So again, that's a good illustration of what I was saying. I didn't cover the tank, so sunlight hit the tank. There's nutrients inside the tank, so I have algae bloom. So that's the consequence. But again, the plant still grew, so we don't need to be too precise. In the end, it was fine. But if I tested the pH, I would see some fluctuation. To know if you have algae problems, basically, you can see it, but also you'll see the pH going up and down. So basically, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, the pH will be different, and that represents the activities of the algae inside the tank. So we can also see a lot of minerals build up. That's the nutrients that fell out of solution. And the root system is also quite massive. So from the distance, I thought that it was root rot because the roots were a bit brownish, but when I looked closer, I think it was actually healthy. It's just that algae grew on the roots and there's a bit of minerals on the roots. I don't think the minerals hurt the roots from what I looked up online, but I'm not sure. But you can see how big the main roots are. So you have I think hair roots at the bottom. I'm not sure how you call these roots, but the ones just below the net caps are huge. I actually had cut out with a scissor to remove the plant later when I harvested. So this is the final harvest. So that's the amount of parsley we are able to produce using the Kratky method from one seed, and that's 121 days because I harvested a bit after I came back from my trip in France. The only thing that I don't have information on yet is what are these little white dots on the leaves. It might be some insects eating up the leaves or stuff like that. I need to look it up. But otherwise, I think that's a pretty interesting harvest. It's the only thing is, what are the white dots and how can we prevent this in the future? So I will have to look it up, and maybe in another project I will know, and then I will be able to tell you. And except that some of the leaves are damaged, but I think that's normal. That was a long time the plant grew, but most of the leaves are healthy. And I did harvest the plant, I did eat the plant, and it was good, tasty parsley. So I hope this information is clear enough to be used. So the most important is really, if you want to learn how to grow your own food, you need to go and really try it out for yourself, because the videos are helpful, but the videos are just a help for you to go and put it in practice. And it's really when you're going to start, you will really feel your confidence will grow little by little, that okay, yeah, I really can do this. I can take one seed and grow a plant from that and then eat that plant. So you can do it for yourself, for your family, or for the people in your communities, but really go and try it out. And if you have any questions, any details, any precisions you need, just ask in the comment and I will reply. So I will see you in the next video, and have a nice growth.